Well, Calum, just the first chance we've had to have a chat since sort of pre-season and then into the Forfar game. A narrow 1-0 loss. What was your thoughts on the match?
Obviously disappointed to lose, but there were certainly positive aspects that we have taken away for the game in terms of the chances we created, the fact that even at the end, despite the fact that you're playing against a club in the league above you, the boys were still in it. We still had chances at the end, and to be honest, they were hanging on. For me, a draw probably would have been a fair result, but certainly it's. 4 weeks ago we didn't expect to be in this competition, so our preparation was never done for preparing for this cup. It was preparing to start the league season as strongly as possible, so we've got to make sure that we're in a position when the league campaign starts that we're going to be there, and I've got no doubts that we will be.
Mm-hmm. The Viaplay obviously came as a late addition, and we had friendlies organised against Clydebank, I think it was, in Musselburgh, was it? Did that disrupt your plans, or obviously with having to move the season forward in effect maybe a couple of weeks?
Possibly, and like I said, in certain aspects of it, because we didn't expect to be in this competition, so possibly, you can't play trialists, so we've not been in a position to kind of see players, so we have had to run with a slightly smaller squad and make kind of judgments on players that have came in and trained in training, but I believe the boys that we have brought in have been fitted in really well with the rest of the boys, and in terms of us being as a team, it will be 15 signed players by the end of this week, coming into a new club, and it's making sure that these boys feel part of the group, and making sure they understand what the club's about, and making sure as well that they buy into where the club wants to be, and all of them have done that, and it's a good group of boys that certainly the management team look forward to working with on a weekly basis. Yeah,
there was obviously Forfar, I think we had 16 players available. Matty McDonald wasn't there and Kevin Smith wasn't there.
Yeah.
Was that injuries, and do you see you expanding the squad in the weeks ahead further?
I think there'll definitely probably be a couple of additions this week. Matty should be back by Saturday. Kev will be involved in some capacity on Wednesday. So we're certainly getting a strong group where there is competition for places. We can't have anybody going into a Saturday knowing that they're going to be playing. We need training to be competitive, which then leads to us performing on match days, because obviously it's we cannot compete with some of the teams in the league with what they are paying players, so we've got to bring in a squad which is going to be competitive week in, week out, not just in games but in training. So we're really developing these boys mentally to make sure that we might not be ready now, but certainly come the end of the season, we're certainly there or thereabouts.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said 15 new players, I think, so it's your team, obviously, with that number of players. Are you happy with the recruitment in terms of, because there's always players you lose and lose out on, it's just the way the nature of the beast, but are you happy with how it's went pre-season in terms of recruitment?
No, I think the boys that we've brought in, we've done our due diligence. We've made sure that every player that's came in, we know what they're like as a person, so we don't have to take 3 months for them to gel. We know that they know the level as well, and it is a slightly younger group, which helps boys immediately kind of form relationships, which we knew would help as well. So listen, we're under no illusions how difficult it's going to be this year, because it is one of the most competitive leagues in probably Scotland, but we think we've done well in terms of the quality of player that we've been able to bring in, so we're certainly hopeful that we can have a strong season. Where that strong season takes us is anybody's guess, but certainly the boys in there at this moment in time are working incredibly hard and have come a long way in a short space of time.
Yeah, and just looking ahead to Wednesday's game against Arbroath, pitting your wits against Dick Campbell, who's been around for a few years. Are you looking forward to that one?
It's obviously going to be a tough test. It's possibly the best part-time club in the country, so you know, like for these boys that are like younger in our squad that are just kind of starting their like footballing journey, you know, like that's the level that they've got to aspire to get to, and like these occasions these boys have to like thrive off, and it's not just them, it's me as well. You know, eventually everybody wants to get to that level, whether that be the player, the management team, or the club, and like together we've got to make sure that we go there and we do everything we can to have, you know, like a positive performance and result. Like we've made sure that we're prepared as best as we can in terms of like making sure the players get the right information, like training tonight. So you know, like we've done everything we can, and it's just a case of the boys taking what they've done so far in pre-season, despite it's going to be like a tough test. They've got top players, but you know, like, we've got good players as well, and these boys have to remember that going into the game as well.
Yeah, excellent. Well, good luck for Wednesday, Carl. Thanks very much.